Juse from the Cuse, and you're in Cory's corner. So today I have a special guest. It's Tessa Hodinger. Said that right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. And I know you, so I want you to tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am originally from Syracuse, and I ended up coming back here for school. And then after I finished grad school, I decided that I was really into fitness and I wanted to explore that more outside of like just me working out 7 days or like 6 days a week. And so I got really into Pilates and then kind of began exploring like instructor certifications and what the process would be to be an instructor. And then I have gone through almost all of my instructor certifications, but I am allowed to teach like without my full certification. So I've been teaching Pilates here and there for the past couple months and also getting my comprehensive certification for it.
So as far as the certification, how long does that process take?
Yeah, so it is a 500-hour comprehensive certification, and it starts with you going in person to like 6 different workshops. So there's 3 that are based on like the reformer, and if you don't know what the reformer is, it's almost like a bed that you lie on, and it has different springs and different weights, and it's how you move, and like your whole exercise is based on that. And then there's also mat Pilates, and then there's like a whole bunch of other accessories that you can use in Pilates. There's something called like the Cadillac, which is great for flexibility and mobility. And then there's like a chair. And so the comprehensive certification is all of that. So you have to do 6 instructor trainings. You have to do 120 student teaching hours, 120 self-practice hours, and then like 200 teaching hours or something like that, plus all of the trainings that you go through. And then at the very end of it, you do your test out, which is basically just proving that everything that you just did over the 500 hours actually applied to you, and you can help honestly anybody. Like if you're pregnant, there's a different way to do it. If you have like osteoporosis, there's a different way to do it. So it was so much more than I thought it was going to be, but
Oh wow, so
I've
you've
loved
been busy.
yeah. I keep saying like it's an anatomy degree.
And you
like,
enjoy it, right?
Yeah, it's so fun. And it's like I am not a science person. So in school I like failed all of my science classes. And now and I took like an anatomy class, and I'm pretty sure I failed it in high school. And now I'm like, oh my God, I love everything about the body. So guess it's teaching me things.
That's good. So as far as like your career, what are you trying to do? You know, I know you want to instruct, but is it, what else do you want to do?
Realistically, I'd really like to open a studio. That's kind of my goal right now. We like in Syracuse, there are a couple studios. They're smaller and they're more classical like based. And I feel like there's different forms. There's athletic Pilates, there's classical Pilates, and I love athletic Pilates, and we don't have anything like that in like a 60-mile radius. So I would love to open like a small studio that has reformer Pilates and mat Pilates all in one, just because also like I feel like fitness studios can get expensive. So having like multiple options in one studio could be really great. But that's kind of that's my goal right now, is to open a studio.
Well, yeah. I know we all face like, challenges and trials and tribulations, but what has been like some of the setbacks, if there has been any? Like what have you encountered or had to face?
I think the hardest thing with like this whole process is that every single body is so different, and like what works for like you doesn't work for me, and it does work for the person next to you. And I feel like when I'm practicing on myself, I know exactly what works for me, but then I'll have a client and they'll come in with scoliosis, for example, and I have to change like every single thing in my head because I don't want to make corrections that aren't for someone with scoliosis. So I feel like it's like I meet a client and then I go home and I like have to do research on like what like movements they do, and like and I feel like it's not a challenge, but it's so much, like it makes you think so much more. And now when I just go to the gym and work out on my own, I think I like do that all the time. I'm like, I gaze and I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I like analyzing everything in here? And even in like it's so interesting, and I feel like I never did that before, but now I'm just like, I feel like I need to like perfect everything that I do, which is not possible, but like making sure you're not steering someone in the wrong way, you know?
Exactly. It broadens your horizon, especially when you're learning, what you're learning and then applying it to yourself. Because I know even with me with personal training, before I would give a client an exercise, I would want to go through that exercise myself just to make sure that I'm doing it correctly, I'm teaching it correctly. And then, I'd rather get hurt doing it than let somebody else get hurt. So I can understand that process of, researching and everything like that.
Yeah, and I also feel like,
so let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, and also I feel like I feel like I'll feel like a failure if someone's like, oh, I just don't see the progress that I'm like trying to see. And so I'm always like, okay, so why is this not working? Like, what can I do to make this work? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I like cueing things wrong? You know what I mean? So it's just so much of like thinking what you're saying. But,
well, that's the learning process. And I see you have a passion for it. So that's real cool.
Thank you.
That's real cool. Okay. So now let me ask you, besides Pilates, and I know you said you go to the gym, what are, also like your personal interests?
Yeah. Like outside of like fitness included?
Outside
Or
of,
outside of
fitness. Yeah, I'm sorry. Outside of fitness.
Okay. Yeah. So hobbies, that's kind of hard. I
won't put you on the spot, but
no, I'm really into, this is gonna sound so nerdy. I love learning, and so I feel like I just have been reading a lot, and just reading a lot of like, this is gonna go to fitness, but I've been reading a lot of like health books and like anxiety based books and like time based books. I don't know. Those are just so interesting to me. And like finishing school, for the last like 15, 20 years, I've been in school like every single month essentially. And this is the first time I've like been working. And so it's so different for me to like have time to do stuff for myself instead of just like work on my education. And I do work now. I work for like a marketing company as well, but and I like to bartend. That's a hobby. I know it's also a job, but it's a hobby. I think it's so fun.
Oh, but it's fun though. You enjoy it though.
Yeah. And I think at least for me, the busier I am, the better I perform in my life, because I don't have time to like procrastinate, and it disciplines me. And so I feel like the more hobbies and the more stuff I do, like it just keeps me on like track instead of I have 3 hours to lay at home and do nothing,
Okay.
If that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. So my last question would be, what advice would you give to young girls that's trying to pursue, fitness, anything like as far as their goals? What advice would you give them?
I feel like, at least for me, when I started my fitness journey, I like looked up to anybody who I thought like had like an ideal physique, like in my mind or everything. And I think I constantly compared myself to other people.
Like me. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Oh, you're good. But I feel like I just always compared, and then I got further into my fitness journey, and I just found that I was following like TikToks or following Instagrams of like what people's diets are, and those are so unrealistic sometimes. Following those and then not seeing those results, it almost like hurts your confidence and like hurts your self-esteem. And you can't do that. Like I said in the beginning, everybody's body is so different. Everybody has different things that works for them, and you just have to find what works for you. And it could be something that people consider weird, but like if it works for you, it's great. And I just there should be no judgment about it. And I when I was younger, I was like, Pilates, like what? Like there's no way. Like I love weightlifting. Like I would never do Pilates, and now I do Pilates like 4 days a week and I lift twice a week instead. And I love it's so mentally, I'm like in such a better headspace, and I'm not like so worried about like lifting heavier, like not being able to hit a certain weight, like, which is what I used to always be like, why can't I do this? So it's what works for you. And just, I feel like you just trial and error, like with anything, but that's my advice.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, how can people get in touch with you? I'm gonna put your information down, like your social media handle.
Yeah.
But how can people get in touch with you?
Definitely shoot me a message on Instagram. That's probably the best way. But yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you. This has been, I'm doing this is called Women's Warrior Week, where it's just dedicated to women in fitness. So I definitely appreciate this. It's been interesting because I've learned something about Pilates, because I've always, known Pilates. I know it deals with like stability, balance, and core, but it seemed kind of, I don't know, I guess like how you said, it seemed like it was plain, but then once you get into it, you see like, wow, it is a challenge, so.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
It's so interesting now. The NFL is using it in their practices too.
Oh, wow.
Like the Chiefs did it a whole bunch this season. And
wow.
Stephon Diggs was in the Pilates studio a bunch, like all over Instagram. So it's definitely,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's there's definitely real like effects to it as well. Not that proves anything, but it just is interesting to see like NFL players trying it as well.
Okay. Yeah. So you love the passion. You have a passion for fitness.
That's great.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, thank you. This has been like so fun. It's been cool, and I enjoyed this moment. So last thing, let everybody know where you are.
Cory's Corner.
All right. Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you.